Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today we're continuing to look at this build of an '09 model of an 18 gauge works Loco. So that's 7mm to the foot running on 9mm gauge track. So it looks quite a large model on my desk, but you have to remember that because it's 7mm to the foot scale, the people are also reasonably large, certainly in comparison to like the figures in that you get for 00 gauge or 09 that I'm more used to building. So you know, he stands kind of here on the Loco. Gives you a sense of scale. Really, it's a tiny little Loco is what we're trying to say. But what you'll notice compared with last time is that I've added an awful lot of extra details to this body shell. So I've added a lot more of the castings. So there's all these wheels, there's a gauge, there's stuff on the back head, so there's a regulator, there's the gauge glass for the boiler, reversing lever, reversing rod I guess down here, lots more valves and things that have been added as well. I guess that might be an oil pot for the or greasing for the cylinders, not actually sure. And I've spent a lot of time adding all the pipe work as well. Now, I did say I was in two minds in a previous video about when I was going to do the pipe work, and I decided in the end that I would actually try and fit it now before painting, partly because a lot of it's quite fiddly to get it into the holes, and I thought if I bunged up the tiny holes in some of the castings, I'd have a devil of a job trying to drill into them again or open out the holes. Things like there's a hole on the bottom of this gauge glass. Well, once it's in place, getting a drill in there is impossible. So I fitted the pipes in the hope that I will be able to spray the base coat on around them and under them, and it'll look okay. And in fact, in most places, it'll probably seal them to the sides of the model, and then I can touch up the surface to make it more obvious that they're pipes, whether that's copper or whatever, later on. The two pipes that aren't attached are these slightly more brass coloured pipes, because they clip on really well. You can see how I've folded them so that they clip on underneath here. So these are pipes to take water, I guess, from the well tank underneath up into the boiler and into the saddle tank for use in the boiler. But they literally slot into a hole here, which is reasonably well drilled, and they clip on the back here. So those I will take off prior to painting, and then I'll put them back on at the end. But everything else now is in place. The coupling blocks are on as well. So that's basically the model completed bar the painting. The only thing that's missing that isn't on yet is the nameplates, and I decided I would leave those off because they will be easier to paint and then fit later. So yeah, the instructions suggest putting a groove in the back of his jacket to sit him on the rail, but I found that if you actually put him in place and stand him up, he does actually rest on the rail quite nicely. So I will be able to kind of glue him on his feet onto the thing and onto the rail when that's all painted up. I'll just take him off now. But yeah, some of this is glued on, some of it was epoxied. This rail at the back, although it goes through two holes in the footplate, the super glue wasn't holding it in place very much. It was very weak, so that's been epoxied on. But yeah, really happy with that. There was quite a lot of time in cutting and bending wire. In the end, I didn't use any of the wire that came with the kit. Well, no, I think this copper piece may have come with the kit. I can't actually remember now. But all this brass, right, so the brass wire may have come with the kit. The coppery coloured stuff didn't. The stuff in the kit was quite badly kinked and twisted, and also I thought was a bit thick. So what I actually used was this enamelled wire, which I have absolutely tons of. I've had this for years, and it's great for making wire runs. Obviously, it's curled, but you can straighten it out quite easily. And it's a little finer than the stuff that was in the kit as well, and I think it's made for some really nice pipe work. I'm not claiming all my pipe work is perfect, but getting some of these things bent and in place and into the holes was a bit of a challenge, and I think it's come out quite nicely. So yeah, so I'm really happy with how this has all turned out. I think there's yeah, I mean, it looks nice. I'm happy with how it goes. As I say, we'll have to see whether it was a mistake or not to put all the wires on before I did the first paint coat. I think in most places the wire, I won't need to touch up underneath the wires or rub down the body or anything or put any filler in. The one place I'm still worried about is these holes here where I put putty in before, but they're not in the way of any of the pipe runs. So I think the next thing is to take off these two brass coloured ones that I say just clip on, and then give it a coat of paint and put a coat of primer and see how it all hangs together. Not sure when exactly I'll get to that. We have to wait for the weather, although it is quite nice outside at the moment, so I might try and pop out and wave a can of primer at it. We shall see. So yeah, quick update. As I said, the weather outside currently is quite nice, so I have actually just been out, popped outside and sprayed some primer on the model. I used this etch primer, Simonez etch primer. Gives a really nice light grey colour that actually shows up marks really well. I've used it on a few models before, and it does help bring things together in the way that some of the other primers like black or the red oxide, in my eye, don't. I find this makes it much easier to see issues. It doesn't always cover perfectly well, or I mean it's difficult. I can't spray inside the chimney, for instance, with it very well, but that's not a huge problem. I can deal with that later. But in general, yeah, the model's come up quite well, I think. I'm quite happy with how it all looks. As you can see, I unclipped the big pipes like I said I would, and I've sprayed the rest. And in general, I'm pretty happy with this. So the tank side, where I was a little bit worried about the dents and the dots, there's a couple of marks, but nothing terrible. Sorry about the light. I've got light coming in through the window and light from the lamp, and I'm getting some weird shadows. As I said, it's sunny. It's odd. I don't usually have a problem with the window behind me, but I've got sunshine. Anyway, yeah, the dents here are pretty much disappeared. There's a couple of little marks, but nothing that I'm too worried about. There's a little bit of cleanup to do around this clack valve. That's the one I added. And there's a little bit of junk at the bottom of the boiler barrel here where it meets the footplate, but I'm not worried about that because that would be like where coal would fall and stuff, so I might actually just hide that under some crushed up dirt and coal. The big issue is that you can see, I think, as I say, I'm having problems holding this because it's dry, but it won't have completely cured yet, so I don't want to touch it. You can see there's a gap under the dome, and it's worse all the way around the back. It's a bit difficult to get the camera in the right angle here, but you can see there's quite a big gap at the back, so I will need to fill that and then reprime it. But in general, I think it's come up really well. It's not showing any obvious things that I'm going to have to touch up. So yeah, really quite happy with that, how that's coming along now. As I say, the pipework and stuff on the back, I think is looking really promising. So yeah, hopefully I'll get some putty in here to fill this, another coat of primer, and then we can get on with a base coat, which will be just basically spray the entire thing black, and then I can start picking out details. I'm probably going to make this quite grotty. I'm not necessarily going to go for lined or with the LMYR logo. I don't have any transfers at the moment, so yeah, probably just paint it black and then make it really grotty, but that will be for a later video. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.